Welcome to the day one of CES coverage at homeservershow.com, surfacegeeks.net, and theaverageguy.tv. And we've got quite a few folks that joined us for the kickoff here. Kind of how we'll get started is I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going to try and achieve this week. I'll give you a little idea where Dave is at and what he's doing. I have invited about 20 guys or so. We won't get them all, but we'll get a handful of guys who will jump in over the next hour or so. Chris Cook and Rich Hay have joined us for now, and we'll chat a little bit about what they think about CES and some of the things that are coming up. And then we'll just kind of hang out for the evening. Dave has CES Unveiled scheduled this evening. He is trying to get checked in. I guess the lines at the hotel he was staying at were rather long, and so he tweeted a couple pictures out there. And actually, we're trying something new this year. We're using the SkyDrive picture roll or camera roll or something it's called. And he is automatically uploading his picture to his SkyDrive camera roll. And then we have an embed out at the homeservershow.com/live. At the very bottom of the page, there's a camera embed. If you ever want to know what's going on with Dave and some of the photos that he's taken, that'll be available for you out there. And then in off times, I'll be streaming those photos as well, so you can see them in the stuff that he's doing. Of course, we'll have tons of live coverage over the next, 30 hours maybe of coverage that we'll have over the next 4 days. We plan to broadcast tonight until we're done, maybe 10, 11 o'clock Central Time. As long as there's material out there, we will. And by the way, if you're looking at the schedule, that's either out at homeservershow.com, surfacegeeks.net, or theaverageguy.tv. You'll know I've got some really broad scheduling show times. I kind of did that because I had no idea how long we would be going in a lot of cases, and so I did that. It doesn't mean we'll necessarily be broadcasting every single second of those, but it just gave me an opportunity to kind of to get some broad strokes and time. So watch those schedules, though. Dave and I will continually tweet throughout the day. I actually own Dave's Twitter account at this point, although he controls it too. But I own Dave's Twitter account and can send all kinds of nasty tweets out if I want to. And so we'll be tweeting a lot of the things that are coming up. Tonight, CES Unveiled. I have no idea what's going on there. Rich, do you know, or Rich or Chris, do you know what's going on at Unveiled?
I think Unveiled is just kind of like because this first today and tomorrow is mainly for the press, and the show opens up to the public on Tuesday. But I think it really is just kind of like overview. Here's who we're expecting and stuff like that. There's not a keynote tonight though. It's just the Unveiled show, right? Which I think is just going to be a big kind of gathering of people, different companies and press that will be talking and doing stuff like that. Good, yeah. And so he'll be out. Chris, did you need to say something?
Actually, I was just thinking that I think it was a CEO of a company. I just can't remember what the company's name is doing a
pre-show keynote.
Pre-show keynote, yeah.
Okay. Well, and I know there's an NVIDIA, and somebody actually already tweeted me about this. There is an NVIDIA press conference tonight, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
But that's an invite only, and I don't think Dave got the invite to that one.
They're actually live streaming it, though.
Okay. Do you have an address for that?
I don't have it, but I'll track it down and I'll post it.
See if we can track that down and we maybe put that out in chat or get that out to you guys. So that's going on this evening. Tomorrow is a full day of coverage. Actually, we are going to start here about 1 o'clock Central Time, so 11 Pacific, 1 Central, 2 Eastern. A full day of events. Dave has got, and I know tomorrow evening is PepSom, right? PEPSOM, the digital experience. He'll be covering that live, and we'll have him out there covering that throughout the day. Actually, if you go out to cesweb.org, there is a whole list of events that are going on at CES. A lot of the early morning ones we will not be covering. It's just there's too much stuff to cover throughout the day as we start the coverage at 1 p.m. But Dave's got a lot of things lined up. Monday, not so much. We don't have defined yet. I know he's got an MSI interview on Monday morning that he's going to record and that we'll bring into the stream. His goal will be to get around. I know there's a ton of press conferences, and so he will probably pick 2 or 3 of those press conferences out and appear at them. He's going to make some of that decision on the ground. And then on Tuesday, we've got Showstoppers in the evening. Showstoppers is always a fun event, and lots of vendors that are out there, and so lots of things to see. He has OWC and Samsung lined up. Wednesday we have Synology, IOSafe, QNAP, Lee & Lee, folks like that. Kingston, he's got an interview with Kingston on Wednesday. And then, of course, Wednesday evening is a meetup with the DMZ. The guys, it's kind of a meetup out there. They're going to get together. I think that kicks off at, I think I have that here at 8 Central, 6 Pacific, and 9 Eastern. And then we'll go live at 9 Central to cover kind of the meetup. Ian will be there, and Andrew will be there. Jim McCarthy will be there. A bunch of guys are planning to show up. I'm sure I missed some names there, but they will be there as well. So, and then Thursday, I have no idea yet what we're going to do on Thursday. I really don't. It's too far out at this point. We'll probably have a shorter day on Thursday than any of the days going in. So a busy schedule out there for us. Again, just some things that you probably want to watch, some Twitter accounts you want to watch. Of course, you want to watch mine, at Jay Collison. You would want to watch Home Server Show, at Home Server Show. That is Dave, and Dave and I are going to be tweeting out on that as well. If you're going to use hashtags in Twitter, it's just hashtag live CES, and that'll keep you in the game on all the things that we're doing on Twitter. If you want a URL to always go to the live coverage, it's just bit.ly/go live now, and that will take you to the Home Server Show site and allow you to kind of keep up on everything that's going on at Home Server Show. All right, guys. Did I miss anything as far as kind of some opening comments? Any questions that of any things I didn't cover coming up? Guys, you think
nothing that I can think
of?
Same here.
Rich, why don't you take a second? Not everybody that's probably watching at this point knows you. Take a second, introduce yourself, your sites, pimp what you do. Give us a little bit of background on you.
All right, we'll do that. I run WindowsObserver.com, along with that, the Observe Tech podcast. I've been running that website. Just was doing the numbers the other day. This August will be 18 years that website's been around in some shape or form.
Really?
Recently retired from the Navy. Last August, I retired after 29 years from the Navy. And I did the tech thing before and after work kind of stuff full time, and been enjoying the last year being able to do tech all the time. But I'm also tweeting from the WinOBS Twitter account and share a lot of links. I read a lot of different feeds and share links out of that, and just enjoying kind of keeping up with tech and what's going on with tech. I'm a Microsoft MVP, kind of just same as Dave is. In fact, January 1st got my 4th renewal for my award.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I just enjoy tech. I mean, I'd be doing this stuff no matter what. And, tech is, I was thinking about it when I talked about 18 years, how different tech is today compared to, 18 years ago when I started this. It was right around Windows 95. I had a website on GeoCities. I can still remember that address on GeoCities. Silicon Valley /Heights/1094. And, we have come so far in technology. I forked out, $100 for 4 mega RAM on my first IBM compatible PC I built. And, now we scoff at anything with like a flash drive with less than 4 gig on it. And just enjoy seeing where tech's gone and where it's going. I mean, and CES, that's the great thing about CES. A lot of people don't like it because it's just too big. Some people like it a lot because there's such variety there, and it's hard to see everything. I mean, I think Dave's already said that, and you said it. You're not going to see everything. We're not going to be able to cover everything. But there is so much out there to be seen. And this year, I think we're going to – and Consumer Electronics Show is not just about PCs. This is about electronics that impact every part of your life, whether it be DVRs, DVD players, home video systems, or cars. They're going to have some driverless cars out there this year. So CES is about more than just the PC, computing side of things.
Yeah, and anything in particular, you mentioned the automated cars, and that is something, they have 2 different models out there this year that they're gonna cover. Rich, any particular technology? I mean, we talk a lot about computers, but the last couple of years I've been out there, it's very little computers, right? It's all the stuff kind of around it. anything you're kind of watching, or CES is so scripted anymore, but anything you're watching?
Well, actually, and this is going to sound strange, but I'm watching for the different form factors that the OEMs are bringing out for PCs and laptops, and these new convertibles that they're talking about, like the Lenovo Yoga that's already been out that you can flip around in all different modes. I want to see what the OEMs are going to come with. We've seen a little bit of it, some of the new Acer stuff is already out there. Samsung's talked about I think we're going to maybe see a little more computer stuff this time because of Windows 8, and the OEMs are finally coming out with their unique systems that are going to have Windows 8 on them with touch screens and things of that nature. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of that stuff and see how are they pricing, how are they coming out to compete with what they've seen in Surface, as well as some of the stuff that's already out there. But I think most of the stuff that's on the market right now is not groundbreaking stuff for the OEMs. There's a couple of them, like I mentioned, the Yoga is one that comes to mind. I think we're going to see some really neat and creative form factors in Windows 8 this week.
Do you have a particular form factor that you're looking for? I mean, have you seen your ideal, device, whatever that is? Have you seen it yet? And if not, what are you looking for?
The one that really intrigues me is one that's actually already out there, and that's the Acer W700. It's got a very unique dock that brings its power, extra ports, and stuff like that without snapping into the keyboard. I ran all of the Windows 8 previews on an Acer Iconia Tab W500. It came with Windows 7 on it, but I did the hard drive upgrade, the 64 gig mSATA drive, and I ran all the previews on it, even the final. And before I got my Surface, and once I got my Surface, I sold it. But that keyboard it docked into made it very unbalanced. It was very top heavy. What they've come up with the 700 and even the 510, it's got a similar setup, but I think it's more balanced. The 700 has that really unique kind of L-shaped dock, and then it's got a separate keyboard. And to me, that's the future. That's the beginning of the future of these systems, where you're going to be able to walk up to your desktop and throw that tablet in a dock and power bigger monitors, other peripherals. Excuse me. So the 700, the W700 for me is a real attractive looking, and it's an i5. I think it's an i5 Intel. So it's a very powerful machine. So it can very well be a full-blown desktop as well as a good portable tablet.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now online, and maybe there's probably a couple different versions of that, maybe. Or is there just one?
Well, that I'm aware of, just the one from Acer. Okay,
so 11-inch capacitive touchscreen. Of course, it looks like the Surface. 1920 by 1080.
That's right. It's 1080. Yeah.
Yeah, the spec here says 1.8 Core i3. Does that sound right? Do you think?
It may be. The site I was looking at earlier today was CNET.
Okay.
I'll see if I can track it down.
This one's B&H, so it's just when I put in, it's the Iconia. Am I looking at the right one? Iconia.
That's the right brand. Yeah.
Okay. So then 4 gig of RAM, of course, comes with integrated graphics, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, micro HDMI port, both front and a 5 megapixel rear camera, 2 megapixel front camera, which really does a lot better than the Surface did on its way out. And then, like you talked about, it includes, for the price here at B&H, it's $793.95, but it includes the cradle and the Bluetooth keyboard. Right. Have you gotten a chance to review that? Have you seen it?
I have not. No. Only what I've been able to see online.
Okay. So that's kind of what you're looking at, right?
Yeah. The ones that get really innovative with the docks, and I don't think we're there yet, but I'm ready to see the dock that lets me dual purpose that tablet into both a tablet that I can pick up and walk away with, and also power maybe a couple monitors and things like that.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I haven't spent a lot of time. I put Windows 8 on an old laptop and it works great. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have touch, and I'm always trying to touch the screen, but it works for me really well. I have a 20-inch touchscreen that I made an HP 310. It's a 20-inch touchscreen. I've turned that into kind of a big, gigantic Surface tablet, so to speak. and I've liked that experience. I haven't been super impressed with all the things that are coming out from the OEMs.
Right.
They've just been kind of slow. Do you get the feeling everybody's waiting for CES to make some announcements? Is that
I
what
think
you're
so.
thinking?
Yeah, I do, because Microsoft came out with Surface, and you've had a smattering of Windows 8 based systems that have come out, but I really do think this week we're going to get the bulk of the new stuff coming out of the OEMs. I did find on CNET's website that is the 64 gig model of the W700. There are two models with 64. One runs the Core i3 Ivy Bridge, and the other one has a i5 CPU. Now, the first one's 750 with the i3. It's 850 with the i5, and then there's a 128 gig model which has the i5 in it. That's between $950 and $1,000.
Okay, not a terrible price point.
No,
right?
not too bad. I'll throw the link of that in the chat. And
Yeah, do
take
that.
A look at
So-
those
Please
things.
do.
Yeah, perfect. I'm sorry, Dave's texting me as he goes. He just says I'm Skype from in the car. I'm just now leaving my room, heading to Mandalay Bay for Unveiled. Let me see if he wants me to call him. Rich, talk a little bit about what do you talk about on your podcast? Give me an idea of how long you've been doing that, and what do you talk about?
Observe Tech, I most decidedly have a Microsoft slant to what I podcast about, but I do talk about anything and everything tech related. So it'll be current. It's usually a weekly episode, a weekly show, and I talk about the stuff of the past week. I work real hard to keep that show in that 45-minute to hour range. Very typically, most shows are about 45 minutes or less, but I collect, because of all the stuff I read throughout the week. I kind of tag a handful of stuff and bring it along with me, and also talk about what we covered on the site, just to kind of talk about what's going on. Of course, this week's show's starting to shape up a lot. It'll have some CES stuff, but all this Google stuff that's going on between Microsoft and Google now, with the latest thing being the redirect of maps.google.com from the Mobile Explorer. So there's always plenty to talk about when you're talking about tech, and especially stuff that involves Microsoft.
Yeah, Rich, let me ask you this question. I mean, it seems like the Giants are preparing themselves for some serious battle, and we've seen some skirmishes, out there in the patent space. That's kind of where it's begun. Are we at the beginning of some really huge battles that are going to go on between Microsoft and Google and, the giants that are out there, Apple certainly? You think we're at the beginning of that, or is it going to just kind of fizzle?
No, I don't know that it's going to fizzle. I mean, when you look at something like what just happened, and then especially if you look at it within the context of what they posted, I think it was earlier today, their reason why behind it, they were trying to kind of save face a bit, I think. But I think it reminds me very much of what used to happen during the browser wars, when we were in the midst of in the early 90s, mid 90s, and later, but with what we were doing with browser wars and what was going on and how that was impacting everything, it was the same kind of pot shots flying back and forth. This is certainly focused on Google and Microsoft, because I think most people don't live in a single ecosystem. Granted, there's a lot of Apple folks that are Apple and MacBook Pros and iPhones and things of that nature, and then you've got this. But I think it's hard to be a single ecosystem user these days. And so they're battling for the eyeballs. If you look at Google Plus, which we're using right now to do this hangout and this live stream, each brings their own strength to this kind of stuff, which is why we as users love that we have choice. But I think I'm so used to wanting to see things open and not restricted just because I choose a certain platform. So I think we're on the cusp of something that's going to be pretty dynamic when it comes to the big players. I really do. I mean, we already know that Microsoft is in a very significant shift in their business model and their focus, moving to a device-type company and services, as opposed to, the big software company we've known them to be for so long. And I think we're on the cusp of something pretty huge between all these guys. I think this is just me, but I think we are on the verge of some significant action when it comes to these services and how they're adapted and how they're used and how they're accessed, and it's going to hurt some feelings. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I want to flush that out a little bit for me, because I think, anytime the market consolidates, so we're definitely in a mode of consolidation where there's just a few major players left. There's consolidation. Oftentimes the consumer gets screwed in that consolidation mode. Prices go up, and then innovation sneaks out of the bottom of that, and a whole new wave of companies emerge that were swallowed up. And oftentimes it's the venture capital from the innovators who got bought out by these big organizations that do it all again. Do you have like a good idea of what's the next wave behind this? What do you see? You see anything coming that breaks away from the Microsoft, Google, Apple?
With the advent of Kickstarter and all the VCs the way they are these days, there are so many different ways for these startups to get funded. Whether it be the Kickstarter, or what's the other one, Indiegogo, I think it is.
Right.
There are so many ways compared to the past. Before, you had to have you either had to walk into a bank and convince them you were okay to have a loan to, or you'd have to find a venture capitalist that was interested in, when you look back to the beginnings of Facebook, for instance. But nowadays, if I've got an idea, I can get on Kickstarter, I can write it up, I can publicize it. People, and in this day and age of tech news reporting, everybody grabs onto news items and publishes them and talks about them. So you get a lot of exposure today compared to 20 years ago. I think you're right. I think, and then and then those guys get funded, and then they bring out. Look at Alpha.net. The alternative to Twitter, when Twitter started, really crapping on third-party developers. This Alpha.net is a pretty impressive system. I mean, and they're starting to build that infrastructure. They're starting to build the feature set. Each month, I get a survey to ask me what I thought about the apps I use to access Alpha.net. They're paying developers for the results of those surveys. Developers are getting a few extra bucks in their pocket because people are using their products, not despite. The home base Alpha.net, like Twitter is, not choking them off or taking away their identity. Look at how Twitter has kind of cleaned up. You no longer can see who tweeted with what app. The picture thing, the whole Instagram thing. I'm a day one user of TwitPic. I help beta test TwitPic, and although it's still engaged and still being used, they make it harder and harder to see anything that's outside of their infrastructure. I use a plugin on my website for handling my short URLs and things like that, and the plugin developer wants to stop shortening URLs using like I use URLs. I have a self-hosted system, and he wants to stop supporting it because shortening it becomes such an integral part of Twitter.
Yeah.
So, and says, well, why do we need it? But that's about identity. That's about branding. That's the kind of thing we're looking at these days. And I think there are those companies are going to get funded. They're going to come up. Now, a lot of them have been picked up and have continued. And I think some of them are going to get scarfed up by the bigger guys and have those services sucked in, kind of like what Facebook has done on a few different things. But I don't know. It's such a different environment to what it was, even 5 years ago, the way people can get funded now. This whole crowdsourcing of things is really going to allow someone to come forward and innovate on a level they've never been able to do it before.
Yeah, it seems like each time we go through this cycle. Now, I grew up in the Silicon Valley, so I watched this happen twice. In the time that I was there would be venture capitalists. They would create new innovative things. There would be a dominance, a race for dominance in the market. They would establish themselves, they would consolidate, and it would be done, right? And then it would start over again. And so I think in each time that's happened, there's been a different way that those innovations have been funded. And you're absolutely right that Kickstarter and Indiegogo have been revolutionary and really empowering. I mean, the farther we get along in this, the more this is like, back in like 1776 when this country was established, everybody had a newspaper, right?
Yep.
There were right. Everybody could print. They printed. They just printed stuff, and everybody had a voice. And that over the next 100 years consolidated, right?
Yep.
I feel like we're back now. Anybody can have a podcast. Anybody can have a blog. Anybody can, get those things out. And so to me, it's very, very cool that we live in an age where, like you said, just about anything can happen if it's a great idea, and it has, and just because it's a great idea doesn't mean it's always going to work either. But there's there's things that go along with that. Well, okay, real quick, Dave, Rich, thanks for all that stuff.
You
we'll come back here. Dave says he's ready to jump in, so let me give him a quick call here. We're going to try this new unholy trinity between Skype, Google Hangouts, and Livestream. Let's see if we can make this thing work.
Is he on his 920 to do this?
He is on his 920, so yeah, we'll see if we can.
And they just released an update for Skype on the phone too.
Yeah, let's hope it's still working. Dave, there you are.
Hi, Jim.
Give me a second to get you in the live stream here. 1 second, so folks can see you. You're coming from you're coming in from the car, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Trying to
well,
grab a meal, it sounds like too.
Go ahead and patch me in and just tell me who's there. So.
Okay, so I've got, of course, I've got Chris Cook, and then I've got Rich Hay as well.
Hey, Rich. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Dave. How's Las Vegas?
Now, Jim, can these guys see me?
I can see you live.
Yeah, they can
sure
see
can.
you.
Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, just when you bring me on, just let me know. So, I'll
actually, no,
I'll
Dave, you're in
my
right.
nose in front of Rich, but
yeah. You are absolutely live at the moment.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Although I'm
That's
having
awesome.
a little trouble getting your video on the big screen. At least at this point, we can see it in the small one. So, give us some idea about where you're at, what you're doing. How's that going?
Well,
did you get checked
we
in?
actually got into Vegas 20 minutes early. I got over to Mandalay Bay, picked up my badge, and proceeded then. I was waiting for the DMZ guys, and I gave up on the DMZ guys, and I'm going to catch them here in a minute. But I tried to find the Imperial Palace, which is now known as the Quad, and you cannot see the thing from Las Vegas Boulevard. So Jim and I were Skyping, and I finally got so lost that I turned around, got on Koval, found it. The line was huge to check in, humongously long. And so I finally got checked in to my room, and I sent you a few pictures. I don't know if you have the SkyDrive, the official Lumia 920 SkyDrive. What are we going to call this thing? Photo stream?
Yeah, gallery, photo stream, something like that.
Yeah, so I was not the only one in the room. I was sharing it with two pigeons. I guess they live on my balcony. I don't know. So I sent those photos in, but I tweeted out that yet again I have managed to lower my standards when it comes to Las Vegas accommodations.
Well, but it's a place to rest, right? At this point, a place to put your head down. You don't really care too much about sleep when you're in Vegas, anyways, do you?
I hope. Yeah, this is yet again motivation not to go back to that freaking room. So I figured out the back exit, Jim. I do not have to go to the boulevard. I did make a few illegal moves in the automobile, but I am on
Don't get caught.
If anyone is familiar with Las Vegas, like Jim and I are, I'm on Koval. I've come out to Tropicana. I'm making a ride on Trop, and then I'm going to make a left on the boulevard to head over to Mandalay Bay. Woohoo! Go Toyota,
I was going to say, you're revving up that little four-cylinder, aren't you?
Yeah, baby! Okay. There's the back of the MGM. So why don't I flip this thing around and let the viewers see. This is kind of warm-up, Jim. I don't know what kind of expectations you gave to the
we're just chatting about what's yet to come and how we're going to do this and all that good stuff.
Just let me know if I pan too quick.
Not looking good so
That's
far.
the MGM, guys.
Tell you what, Dave, give me a second here. I'm going to move the camera over so that we can see your whole live shot there. How's that sound?
Because we will be doing this exact shot quite a bit.
Yeah, so live streamers got the full shot at this point.
Okay. So I should have taken the little cutesy circle cheating road, but I got antsy. I know some more shortcuts here on these Vegas roads, but there you see New York. We have Tropicana on the left. and we are about to hit what they call the Strip, Las Vegas Boulevard. But we are South Boulevard. We are actually out closer to the airport. They have moved Press Day and CES Unveiled to the Mandalay Bay, which usually for the last 4 years it has been at the Venetian. So quite a bit of a change. It's kind of thrown me off of my game. I used to come here and you could blindfold me and put me in the car in the airport, and I could get, through Press Day. I could get through all the way to opening, show floor day, which is Tuesday. But this has kind of thrown me off of my game. I expect to meet the DMZ guys out there, Josh Pollard, Richard Gunther. They will be out there. And later on, after Unveiled, I'm going to be meeting up with Jose Ortiz from the digitallifestyle.com. He did the mobile show there. Since has retired. So we're finally making a left onto the Bully.
Dave, what are we expecting to see at CES Unveiled? What are you hoping to get out of that event tonight?
Unveiled it's the first look from the press, or of the press, to anybody who wanted to pay extra to get a table at this thing. It's a madhouse. Most of the after CES parties are private invite, like Pepcom, Showstoppers. You have to get an invite. And this one is open to the press. So there's about 5,000 registered members of the press at CES 2013. And virtually 4,999 of them will be at this event tonight. It will be very crowded. It will be very loud. I will try to get us away from the door as soon as possible, get to wherever the back of the hall is, and we will we'll branch out. We'll find some cool stuff, and we'll bring it to you. Now, just because someone's at Unveiled doesn't mean they're not going to be at the show floor. That means they will have a booth. They're just choosing to bring some small products and come to Unveiled. It's just like a small table. So, and I think there's food and drink. And for me, I look at products as much as I look for people. Last year, I've run into the Verge guys. I've run into Gizmodo guys. So we've had a lot of fun. Wow, that sun is bright. Jiminy Christmas.
Is it warm there? I mean, we're here. It was like 6 degrees this morning. How's it in Vegas?
Lord, no. I have a t-shirt and a long sleeve shirt, and I'm comfortable. I see guys in tourists in coats, locals in parkas. So it's about 40 something. Okay,
yeah. For us Midwesterners, that's like a summer afternoon.
Yeah. No, it's a balmy. I would say 47. We're supposed to be getting into some 60s. So this should be really nice.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. So I see where I need to go. Mandalay Bay is to my right. I apologize that I'm not showing you much, but I am kind of video conferencing from a moving vehicle.
Yeah, you are driving, Dave.
My wife is watching the show.
It looks like we might lose him in that.
Sure.
Yeah, we're gonna lose him there, so we'll call him back here shortly. And
that's pretty nifty, though. That's very impressive for being mobile on a phone, calling in via Skype, which is technically a beta app on the Windows Phone right now. They're still not final, and into a Google Plus Hangout.
Yeah, so Rich, that took a little bit of trickery to get that pulled off. I've got a Core i7 broadcast server that has 2 sound cards in it. And we've basically routed the microphone out of one into the speaker of the other. And we tried doing this with virtual audio cables. I don't know if you have any experience with using that. Great little tool, but just that with live stream created a lot of pops in the audio. And you're a podcaster, so you know how that drives you nuts, right?
Yep.
And your audio is that bad. And then, and Paul Hangtide, I'll introduce you here in just a sec. So we routed out, we basically did a crossover. So microphone out and speaker on the one, and that way on the other. And then you set Skype to listen on one and broadcast on the other, and Google, right, to do that. And they just basically make a connection. And it actually works. And I was very surprised. Now, the only hang up is Dave does not see our video. He sees me, but he doesn't see us. So I've got to tell him each time. Last year, he had an Android phone. We brought him in on the Android phone, and he could see everybody. And so he'd stop at a booth, and he'd say, "Hey, you're live on live stream," and he'd show him the phone, and there would be all of us.
All the people, that's cool.
In the Hangout doing that. So I was surprised at the end of the day I could actually get that done, but and it works for this setup. It works. You can see I struggled a little bit to get the Skype window to stay in the Google Hangout main view, and I don't know what the deal with that is. By the end of the week, I'll have it figured out.
Gotcha.
And,
Good stuff.
We'll get that, but that worked out. Well, Paul Brern has joined us. Of course, we know him as Tinker Guy, and he is all things super detailed instructions on how to do anything on the web. Paul, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
And as I tuned in, it's not the first time we've seen someone in a car, Mr. Jim Collison. We've seen you driving around in live video.
So I have set the standard, I think, for driving around the country and doing podcasts from my car, which is well. And I want to say it's always hands. If you're a law enforcement officer, it's always hands free. I've always got a pair of. I use earbuds because they've got a really nice microphone in them. And so I put those on in the car, and then I have the mic, and then set the camera down like Dave's doing. Set the camera down on the down where, and I don't look at it, allegedly. But Paul, have you met Rich? Do you know Rich Hay?
No,
I don't think we have ever met. Hey, Paul.
Paul, meet Rich, and then have you met Chris Cook before?
No. Hey, Chris.
Okay.
Hey, Paul.
Good evening.
Chris will be around all week. Chris is my right-hand man in the chat because there's no way I can watch what's going on in chat during all of this and stay on top of it. So he's my right-hand man. He's the CES. Chris, what are you calling yourself in chat? CES something mod?
CES Live Mod.
He's our moderator in chat, and then a guy to kind of help me out when things go awry here on the podcast. So, Paul, I asked Rich earlier on what he was looking for in CES. You were on the ground last year helping Dave out at some point on that. You didn't get to go this year. I guess we used up all your frequent flyer miles with meetups and all those other things. But what are you hoping to see out of CES?
I love the little live coverage spots. Obviously, having been there, it's even more meaningful. But, even if it's Dave walking around Samsung in the bigger middle room there, or was it the North Hall with all the little gadgets, hopefully I'll be able to tune in, particularly on evenings, because I got to work this week, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, well, most people do have to work. Yeah. Not all of us can watch all the coverage. I actually planned for this, and I'm taking afternoons off so I can do the coverage for it, and we'll be doing a bunch of it. But you can tune into it at work. I'll just tell people, if you're listening to the recorded version of this, we're going to be playing this overnight. These sessions that we're doing. Looks like Rich locked up and he's back. Welcome back, Rich. We'll be recording these and be playing them overnight. So if you're listening to that and you are at work, if you can stream it during work, that's great. We're on live stream. We have plenty of different ways to do it. And then, of course, we're live every evening, and we're going to be broadcasting some things to YouTube. So just about every way you can consume it, we're going to do it. Paul, is there anything at CES that you kind of were hoping, anything you're watching, anything new, any of those kinds of things?
Western Digital, if Dave's going to have some sort of meeting with those folks or seeing their latest products, that would definitely be of interest, their latest appliances. NAS vendors, the usual, Drobo, Synology, and then finally High Point and their Rocket Raid cards and their stuff. I tend to use some of their stuff in my home. So those are the names that jump out for me. And Jim, a question back at you then.
Yeah.
Who do I follow on Twitter to know, say, Dave's walking over to a Western Digital meeting now, and I want to see that tweeted? Or how do I stay in touch?
No, that's a great question. It's almost like I fed you that question, Paul. So thanks for doing that. If you want to follow us on Twitter, of course, you can follow at Home Server Show. That's Dave's main Twitter account. You can follow me at Jay Collison. We'll be double tweeting in there. As well, all the stuff that's going on. If you want to know what's going on with the most current schedule, we have a short URL, bit.ly/go live now, and that will take you to the site that has streaming audio and video as well as the schedule that's coming up. I'll be honest with you, Paul. It'll be hard to keep track of everything that's going on all the time, and so the best thing to do is just to listen. If you are going to tweet, use the hashtag and then live CES. That's and already the battery on my phone is going dead. I better plug this thing in because it's the way. So behind the scenes, Dave and I are texting back and forth. That's how we're gonna stay, because the really easiest way for him to communicate on the floor is texting. So he texts me, and then I call him on Skype, and we bring him in, and we make the connection to Google Plus, and we'll see if we can pull this off. So hashtag live CES, and then of course you can join us in chat. If you're watching live and you're not in the chat room, you don't need to create an account for that. Just go in and create an alias, and you're in and you're chatting. So Dave will be back with us in 10 minutes or so. So we'll say at 5:55 or just before 6. I know that CES Unveiled is supposed to open at 6, so that'll be perfect timing. Paul, what are you writing about in your blog at this point? I know you've been one of the busier bloggers that I've followed lately with a lot of good stuff. What are you doing right now?
Sure. In the last week, you saw a little bit about the Lenovo Yoga. So getting my hands on that. That's my son's new machine. Windows 8, touchscreen, of course. The one with the screen that folds back, so it looks like a laptop where you're breaking the lid and just folding it back on itself. And, I'm pretty happy with it, yeah.
Do you like that setup? I mean, does that seem like that's not... To me, it seems like that little piece is just going to snap right off at some point. It seems pretty robust.
It does seem to be pretty robust. I've looked at... I was at a Costco yesterday, and a lot of Windows 8 machines there. Wow, the lid's flimsy. I mean, you tap the LCD and the thing flutters back and forth for a good 5-10 seconds before settling down. It's way beyond that. It's pretty solid. You're right, though. What will it be like in 3 years? I don't know. Got the full 3-year warranty on it, but we'll see.
So you paid extra for a warranty? Or
a little bit. Yeah. I also get some discount, but yeah. Now the warranty was I think $140 for full accidental damage protection, which is not that bad for 3 years. I mean, so yeah, that machine is fun, and it's mostly used like a laptop. No, I get the IBM discount there with the Lenovo.com site. Yep. It's not a huge discount, but it helps. Hey,
speaking of the Lenovo, and Rich, if you know anything, you can jump in on this too. I've heard that they're going to break up into 2 groups. Have you heard any word on that?
Yeah, no? Where did I read that? I read about that yesterday. Yeah.
Rich, have you followed that at all?
I seem to recall seeing something in the last day or so as well, but I don't remember where I saw it. It must have been across one of my feeds or something. I probably did retweet it out or share the link, but yeah, I think was it business consumer, or are you talking about? I can't remember what I saw.
I don't know. I saw it too. I was just wondering when Paul mentioned Lenovo, I was wondering if anybody was following that and why. What would?
Well, I know. I'd like to ask Paul about that yoga. How's that feel? I heard you mention the other ones you've seen in the store being very flimsy, and in fact, there's been some back and forth on Twitter today talking about how touchscreens can really change. They're just not an augment anymore to Windows 8. They make the system, I think. But how's that hinge feel? Is it a single point? Is it double, or is it all the way across?
Yeah, it's double. There's 2 large kind of stainless steel looking things that you can see. So if you visit the website, you'll see that. And actually, I'm just realizing, do we have a chat going here? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
So Jim, do you see? You're looking at the Google Hangout, or you're busy producing, Jim? But
a little bit.
Yeah, the other folks though, you can use the Google chat. So here's a link for the Lenovo naming. Hard to remember, but it's Lenovo Business Group and Think Business Group.
Yeah,
not exactly easy to memorize.
In the chat just said they're breaking into 2 divisions. The ThinkPad is going to be for the higher end business customers.
Exactly. And then the yoga, let me get you a picture of that. But yeah.
And what do you think? What's the advantage to that? I mean, is it just?
I think it just may allow them. Does enterprise mean more dollars? I don't know. I mean, enterprise software typically costs a little more. Licensing costs a little more than commercial or consumer. So I'm not sure what the thought process is on that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like for me, the corporate world, I'm using the TrackPoint for a good 15 years. I'm used to the red nubbin between the G and H keys, and that's right. That continues to be the Think line of products, the higher end. Core i7 desktop replacement, a full 1-inch thick, 6-7 pounds, right? That stuff that lives on. And The Lenovo Yoga 13 is actually an IdeaPad, their other consumery brand with more like chiclet keys, although they feel quite good, and no track point and a giant track pad for scrolling up and down if you don't feel like reaching up and touching the screen. So the naming just seems to be new names for that same split they've already had for a while. That's what I just skimmed it. I just read it last night. I'm trying to find. There's not much news about it. I'm looking to do it in Google search for the last 24 hours, and it's just a naming thing. I don't know if we know what it means yet. It doesn't look like it's on Lenovo's main website or anything.
Have you written much about that yet, Paul?
No, not at all.
Yoga?
I tend to focus. A little bit of the fun stuff, but mostly virtualization. People asking me, "Hey, can you do Hyper-V on the Yoga, for instance?" And I love answering questions like that. That's the fun. Yes, SLAT. That acronym that you saw come from Greg Welch. I don't know if you caught that, but people ask you to type this command at a command line on your Windows 8 box to see if it can do Hyper-V. And the answer is most new machines can. They need a decent GPU, and even a Lenovo Yoga can do decent GPU acceleration. And that's what the article is in the chat here. It's tinkertry.com/Yzilla. So there you go, all about it. Cool
we've always said Tinker Tree, but it's
really
Tinker Try, isn't it?
I give up. I'm happy to rename it today. There you go. You just got the announcement here first. After a year and a half of everyone saying it the other way, no problem. It's a capital T in the middle now. So Tinker Try.
Tinkertry.com is your site. And I do see you had a post there about the fun with the Lenovo IdeaPad Yoga 13. There was a Christmas gift, right?
Yeah, that's my son's. Yep. So he'll be going off he's a junior in high school, so he'll go off to college with him.
Very cool.
It's basically a very nice Ultrabook, really. I mean, you can use it absolutely as a plain old laptop.
Yeah, very cool. Well, let me take just a quick break. Hey, Rich, that's not us that's causing you to drop, is it?
Oh, no, it's me. Oh. I've switched into Chrome so I can take advantage of the lower third.
Perfect. Yeah, if you ever. I always tell people as soon as they have problems, they're like, "Oh, I'm in IE or whatever." I'm like, "No, you got to get in Chrome."
Yeah, Chrome's the best way.
We do so many Google Hangouts that it's really the best way. Let me remind folks, if you're listening to the live, you are listening to the live coverage from Las Vegas of CES 2013, brought to you by thehomeservershow.com and surfacegeeks.net, and produced by me over here at theaverageguy.tv. You can join us live right now with interactive chat, as well as get all the updates on the broadcast schedule. Just follow that link I talked about earlier, bit.ly/go live now. Don't forget that during the coverage, tweet #LiveCES to stay in the Twitter game and view the updated pics for the on-the-floor stuff. So Dave's taking pictures, and then they automatically upload to a SkyDrive gallery, and that is over at the live page as well. Just scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you can get access to that. That was actually a very cool little component that Dave kind of came up with. And I know we could probably use Dropbox or Box or any of the other, the other cloud storage services. But with the SkyDrive, he takes that picture, it automatically uploads to his camera roll, and then those pictures become available to us as soon as they're up there instantly. He's created a little embed code, and then I can run a slideshow with them. So the plan is, every once in a while during coverage, I'll need to take a break, is to run that slideshow, and Dave's going to take a bunch of pictures as well as this video that is going out. If you are on the floor at CES, you're listening to this, and you're on the floor at CES at some point, and you want to get your pictures in the scene, let me know. Just send me an email, podcast@theaverageguy.tv, and I'll hook you up so we can get that done. Okay, it looks like I think. Well, let me ping Dave one more time, and we'll see. Rich, did you have any other questions? You'd asked that one question about the yoga, but is that good?
No, I'm good to go.
Okay. Paul, anything else that you wanted to, while I'm bringing Dave up? Anything else that from CES or stuff you're working on? I love the VM part there about being able to check. For the VM, because I always just had checked the CPU to see if it supported virtualization, but you need to do a GPU check as well. Oh, Paul, you're muted. I'm sorry. Your line got muted. Unmute yourself for me.
You're apologizing for me muting? I'm the one who hit it. But thank you. It's so polite.
Go ahead. You bet.
Hyper-V, Microsoft's role that you can add to Windows 8 is the only one that cares about typing that command. in general, on the VMware side, anything less than 4 years can handle that just fine.
Oh, okay.
So it's specific to the Microsoft flavor. But yeah, as far as what I'm looking for out of CES, again, just visiting those little booths is what I'm going to miss the most, like High Point, where they're surprised that their product works well with VMware, ESXi Hypervisor, or Microsoft's Hyper-V. Visiting those little guys and talking to them about stuff like that, that's what I'm going to miss. And ASRock, the motherboard I'm using, or ASUS, tie-in and Supermicro and all that, that's that's the good stuff, and I hope he gets over those booths.
It is the fun part of CES. Your feet are just dead tired by the end of the day.
Yeah.
But Rich, have you done a CES? You've been on the ground? Have you done that before?
I've never done a CES. When I was on active duty, it was always an issue of travel and stuff like that, and timing. And the last few years, I've gone out to MVP Summit. One trip to the West Coast, and I always choose to go to Summit because I get a lot more out of Summit. But having never been to CES, I really want to do it. So I'm going to make my plans for next year to attend next year and work from that.
It's always a good time. I did 2 years in a row 2 years ago. Last year, we started this concept of doing live coverage, and it was a lot easier for me to do the coverage here from the studio as opposed to trying to be on the ground. And it actually worked really well. I do kind of miss, like Paul, like you said, I kind of miss getting around and seeing the vendors and messing with the equipment. And, there's a booth babe or two, so that's not always bad. And then, just the various products that they have, and you can try stuff out in the giveaways. And trying to get lunch, because they always give away these free lunches, but you got to be there like an hour early to be able to get them. And it's a challenge in a game, and there's a zillion people there and the traffic, but it is a good experience. I always recommend if you've never been to CES. Now, the one drawback is I feel like the big boys have pulled out. I mean, I feel like it's kind of just it's a million small people, but the big keynotes seem to have pulled out.
Well, and I think CES really delivers an opportunity for the smaller companies to be seen and be heard from, because the big guys are going to be able to pull off their big launches in New York City on Pier 57 and things of that nature in their own product cycle. And I think that's who it really is the plus up for, because I heard somebody the other day, I was talking to them about CES, and they said, it's those guys that we visit that just swiped their credit card, maxed out their limit to be there and have that table that we want to make sure if it's a good product that we're talking about it and we're getting them exposure.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. And even for us small podcasters, so to speak, and the media, we're not CNET, we're not The Verge, we're not Callie Lewis, but we get a chance to be on the floor covering some stuff like some of those guys too. We get the same
equal
opportunity,
equal footing for those of us that are enthusiasts, as opposed to these. CNET, I think I took 90 people out there to CES.
Yeah, and did you see The Verge had a huge trailer out there? I mean, they
I heard they've got some kind of thing. I forget what they're calling it, but yeah, I saw that they've got some big, huge location or something like that.
Yeah, it's like the Virginator.
And the new Media Expo's going on right now too, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Starts tomorrow, I think, and runs in conjunction with. And I know a lot of folks that are out there about that, like Rob Greenlee from Microsoft, who does Zune and the podcast stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what comes. I looked at the schedule for that, and there's a lot of interesting discussions going to be going on, as well as all the "this is how I got 1 million visitors on my website" type things too.
Jim, you're asking, just in general, what's the most valuable thing? When you're physically there, the magic is this stuff, all the cards you get, right? Here's my pile from last year, and that is important. Meeting a guy from LSI or meeting a senior engineer when I've been working on the RAID adapter for a year. It's like, okay, now I have a name, and I talk to him a week later when I get home, and it's been awesome. So that was the value for me, just meeting humans and the caliber of people you run into in the booths. They send their very best to that show.
I had a very similar experience at this past summer in Orlando at TechNet.
Meeting
you
Microsoft.
Meet a lot of vendors there on the floor.
Or vendors, okay, yeah.
The
other thing. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
No, just a closing thought is just being there in the press hallway there and getting the press lunchbox and all. The cool thing was you have people walking around with flyers. Usually you're annoyed, but they're jamming flyers in your hand that are useful. Like, oh, the CEO of Lutron and Philips are up speaking about LED bulbs in 10 minutes. I threw away my lunch and walked over there. It was cool. Those little magic moments. That was also kind of neat. The stuff I didn't plan for, blowing off everything else I had planned to do that afternoon. And, there I was. I just bought an LED bulb from one company and a dimmer from the other guy, and the CEOs of the companies are standing right there, open for questions at the end. That was cool. Got to meet them. So that's just the cool stuff. It just doesn't happen when you're physically not there. But, the next best thing is having Dave walking around with that 4G, hopefully, and helping be our eyes and ears on the site. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and there'll be a ton of coverage of that going forward if you're just joining us. And John Stutzman is trying to call me. So, John, don't call me. I'll call you. We're trying to put a podcast on at the moment. But we'll have a ton of coverage throughout the week. And I'll just remind folks, if you just joined us, tomorrow is press conference day. So there's a bunch of things that Dave's got going on around the press, and we'll be talking about some of those things. If you're interested in doing the Google Hangout with me during the day and you haven't seen an invite yet, just shoot me an email. You can just send that to jim@theaverageguy.tv. Track me down or send it via Twitter, just @JCollison. We'll get you added on the list to get in the Hangout here. So everybody's invited. If you've got a decent microphone and you can jump in here, we'd like to have you in. I do these kind of informal kind of hangouts. We just we'll have various people throughout the week, and folks are welcome to jump in. So if you still want to do that and you haven't seen an invite from me, it doesn't mean anything. It's just I missed you in some way, and we'll get you on the podcast as well as we go out, as we do this throughout the week. Chris, we haven't let you talk yet, and I know I've kept you in the background. You're going to be with me most of the week, so I don't want you to give it away at all at once. But is there anything at CES that you're looking for at this point? I mean, certainly, you following anything out there?
Currently, QNAP. I've been looking into getting one of their 680 network devices. And just wanting to get to know more information, what's changed in their current models over their... I'm sorry, what's changed in their new models over from their old models, or older models, I should say.
Okay. So QNAP, I think we're going to be covering them. They showed up in the 2012 highlight video that we put together. Dave showed up at their booth last year, and they've got just a plethora of hardware that's, that they're pumping out. I haven't followed them. I'm if you follow the podcast at all, you know that I'm a little partial to the Drobo, and I work with those quite a bit. But certainly, and Dave kind of focuses on Synology. QNAP is another one of those. Rich and Paul, let me ask you, do either of those devices show up on your radar at all, the QNAP products?
Oh, definitely. They were right across from Synology and Drobo at VMworld in San Francisco this past August, and they were at CES right near each other as well. Product packaging and the look and so forth, it seems, they're a little less attractive visually and a little less of the amazing box design and so forth, but as far as the specs and all, that's what I tend to be interested in. Unless I get my hands on something and actually test the speed, I tend not to be that impressed. I'm not really sure. The jury's out on what I think of them unless I actually try their product under VMware or Hyper-V.
Yeah, and have you?
I have not. No,
Okay.
no. Yeah.
Rich, does that show up on your radar at all?
It does not. I was just going to say, what are those? I'm a geek, but I'm not. I guess my geek focus is a little bit different. But no, I've got my little home server running in the corner with its internal drives and not a whole lot of other stuff on it. So, except for my files, like everything I own.
Yeah.
But it does its job. I mean, it really does. But yeah, I've never had to venture out that far. I tend to focus very much on what you would call much more consumer-focused, kind of everyday use things and of that nature.
What since we're primarily a home server community, even with Surface Geeks and even the AverageGuy.tv kind of comes out of the home server community. What are you running? Just give us a little breakdown. What's your box look like?
For me, my box, it's definitely it's something I built, and you know what? See, this is horrible of me because I'm just not a very good specs kind of guy.
That's okay. Get close.
And but I am. I'm running a dual core with 8 gig of RAM with a flash drive, 120 gig flash drive in it for my main system with Windows 8, non-touch. That's my dual monitor setup and where I do most of my work. The system I'm on here right now is an AMD dual core that used to be my home server box with 3 gig of RAM, again running a flash drive in there. I recently swapped out my podcaster box. This is where I do all my podcasting from. It allows me, something I learned in the scheme of podcasting was if I had to break everything out every week and set it up, I tended to skip shows. I tended to not make the time to set the gear up to do the show because it just added so much overhead to it. So I made the decision about a year and a half ago to build up a box that would be purely dedicated to the podcasting, purchase a good soundboard, purchase the boom mic holder, the whole bit. And it makes a huge difference. One, because it's easy for me to just push the button, walk up to the machine, get it fired up, and get going. And now that I've got a little bit more powerful machine, I actually have started to stream my recording sessions on live Google Hangout and let them post up to, my YouTube channel automatically. And then I use Audacity to record. I actually started on a system called a Podcaster PM21 a couple years ago. Real simple box, great little system though, worked just fine for me. And now I'm running a Xenox 802 that gives me more inputs than I need right now for what I do. But the difference in the sound, I had comments on the podcast as well of how different the sound quality was once you invest in a good mic and a good soundboard and things like that.
Yeah, now tell me the mic. I'm sorry, I was distracted.
The mic. You know what? Honestly, it's just I think just a generic mic that came with the Podcaster TM21 I bought off of Amazon about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I continue to use it. And the Xenox, that little box that came with that was a 2-input box, little bitty thing, and it blew out. The USB died. So I did a little bit of research and found this Xenox 802 for about $50 actually. And this one here has got inputs for 2 mics plus 4 additional channels of stuff, and very flexible. And it does and it hooks in through a converter that hooks into USB to the PC, so it gives me my sound through that as well as the microphone input, and it works well. I mean, it gives me good sound. And now, when I'm doing the Hangouts or when I'm doing the podcast, especially recording to Audacity, it does make a huge difference in the quality of the sound.
Yeah, it certainly does. Having the right microphone equipment. I've been using a Yeti for a long time, and the Yeti just broke. And so I sent that in for RMA, and I'm going to use it again when it comes back. But I picked up this ATR, the 2100, which seems to be kind of becoming quickly the podcaster's most popular microphone, and that seems to just be working. It works really well for me. It's a little bit of a lower profile. And actually, I bought a little shock mount for it as well for $10, 10 whole dollars. So the whole setup was less than $60. And go ahead, Paul.
Just great article that you write up on AverageGuy.tv from yesterday, I think, right? All about this.
Yeah, I
awesome.
just posted it yesterday. Yeah. I give a little bit, at the AverageGuy.tv if you go out and peek. Just a little review. I didn't spend a lot of time doing it. I did, the shock mount. It was important because I'm always messing around with my mic. It was important that I at least removed, some of that sound, right? That maybe a little banging that comes from either the desk or if I hit the boom mic. And I was surprised at this little shock mount decreased the noise by a little over 50% as you look at the WAV file. And I was like, wow, that little thing can, this little shock mount can do that. And sure enough, it did. And this was a whopping $10. Right? I mean, it was not very expensive at all.
For the shock mount?
Yeah, the shock mount was this shock mount right here was $10.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had been running, it comes with that Audio Technica.
Yep, that's what mine has on it.
Yeah. Just the standard one. And it's not bad. I mean, that's the hard plastic standard one. It's not bad. It was better than the one I'd had before. But this shock mount, it's a OnStage Studio, I want to say. Shoot, I should be getting that right. But you look at that post at the AverageGuy.tv. It's got all the specs for it out there. It's more rubbery. The shock mount, it's got more rubber construction to it, so it really does absorb kind of the sounds as it's coming through. And it's got this nice air pocket between the arm and the mic itself. So yeah, $60. The mic was $43, and the shock mount was $10. and no tax, so it's actually less than $60. No tax and free shipping with Prime.
Yeah, you can't. I love Prime.
No, yeah, no, it was great. So it pulled me out of a jam, and I was able to get it. I was kind of panicking a little bit because I had all this coverage to do, and I didn't really have a very good system to do it with. And so I ended up routing it into a board, but I did an overkill, Rich. So you've got an underkill probably
right.
for what you're doing there. I did an overkill. I had this board that I used years ago, and it's a Natty 14. It's a 14 channel board. I'm using like one of the channels, and so it's a little bit of an overkill, but it got the job done. So. Well, let me break in real quick and just say you're listening to the live coverage from Las Vegas at CES 2013. 2012 was last year. Brought to you by the HomeServerShow.com and SurfaceGeeks.net and produced here by TheAverageGuy.tv. You can join us live right now with chat, interactive chat as well. And by the way, chat room, nice job. You guys are doing a great job of having a show behind the show. So good work in the chat room. I wish I could spend more time chatting with you guys. It's all I can do to keep on top of Dave and keep questions going in the chat. But I appreciate you guys out there doing that. You can head over there. If you just go to bit.ly/go live now or homeservershow.com/live, either one, that'll get you to the live page. You don't even need to create an account. You can just start chat with an alias and jump right in there. Don't forget that during the coverage, if you are going to tweet, you can tweet #LiveCES, and that will show up in a stream that we watch, and you'll probably get it retweeted as well. And then at the bottom of the live page is our SkyDrive photo gallery. In fact, Dave just added some photos. So if you head out there right now, homeservershow.com/live, bottom of the page, click on the photo gallery. He's sending all his photos, everything he takes on his Lumia 920. He is moving up there. You can check that out right now. Okay, so Dave is ready. Let me give him a call here. Let's see if we can bring Dave back into the discussion. Chris, if you can for me when you're not talking, that'd be great. I'm picking up a lot of your keyboard stuff. Dave, can you hear us?
Hang on, Jim.
All right.
Down to my last 7.
I got it out. So.
Hey guys, Dish is having its press conference tomorrow at 3 in the same room as CES unveiled.
We're live with Dave McCabe. He's on the ground floor there in Vegas at CES. I think he's in line for CES Unveiled.
Hang on, Jim.
And no sweat, Dave. We're waiting for you.
I think you need more stuff in my hands.
Hey, Dave, can you hear me? He's trying to get himself ready. Paul, you know what it's like to try and carry all that stuff around at CES.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what microphone he's got this time. I remember he was carrying the earbuds around, holding the mic up to people, right? I can't wait to see what he's got.
He bought one right at the end of CES last year that worked really well. The iGo or iSomething microphone. Dave, can you hear us? Okay. I don't know what that means. He gave me some kind of hand signal, and I have no idea what it means. Maybe he still can't hear us. Looks like he's got a USB cable around his neck. He'll have, looks like his name tag. He's trying to work with the earbuds. He's probably trying to plug in his microphone right now. That's probably what he's trying to do.
I was trying to get audio back to me.
There
Tell me
you
how
go.
my, give me a level check.
Yeah, no, you're good. I think you sound good.
Okay, we're middle of the mic, so if you hear background noise, just let me know.
Nope, sounds good.
Okay, good. Are we in the stream? I guess that's my eternal question.
Yeah, we're live in the stream. Do you want to go live on? Do you have something that you want to go live on YouTube with?
No. At this point,
Okay.
I'm in. You can see what I'm facing.
Yeah.
Line. So, this is. Oh, I'm sorry. Once again, the zoo that I'm trying to get into, called CES Unveiled, and we'll be in there, and we'll be bringing you some interviews and some products.
Very cool. Well, we were just sitting here talking about podcasting rigs, and I was asking the guys what do they want to see. Dave, hey, talk a little bit about the gear that you brought with you for CES. What kind of stuff does it take to survive at CES?
We're already attracting a crowd, Jim. I've given out the card several times. The gear seems to cause confusion and puzzlement into people's faces. What we're using here is the iPhone 4S. We are streaming live video on Skype, and you know that we have backup Google Plus that we use. We also we use the Android phone for Google Plus Hangouts. We also use a Windows phone. I'm sitting here talking to Gregory Davis. We also use a Windows phone, and we take photos to a live photo gallery. And I'm going to give Gregory my card. Hang on one sec.
It's all good. Dave works the show and does interviews at the same time.
You're welcome. It's low budget, guys. I can't afford a cameraman, so here I am. But we give you the news before anybody else can, because I'm bringing it to you live. That's how we roll, Jim.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, really, this is all consumer-grade equipment for the most part. What's the microphone you're using, Dave?
Sorry, I'm trying to get you some camera views. The microphone is the iRig. Now, here's the line that I'm waiting in. We are at the Mandalay Bay, CES Unveiled. We're waiting to get in line. This is a private event for press only. I was talking to you in the car. CES Unveiled seems to garner, I would say, about 99% of the press, because there's free food, right, guys? Yeah. So we all come here for the free food. And so the other private events like PepCom and Showstoppers that we'll be bringing to you in a couple of days, it won't be as crowded. Now, it's crowded, don't get me wrong, but it won't be as crowded. And if you've ever been there, the food's much better. Much better, especially at Showstoppers. I know you remember that, Jim.
Oh, yeah. There's always some good food at that, for sure.
Okay. So I apologize for the delays. We're just waiting to get in and show you. Hey, I already ran into Miss Callie Lewis and her crew.
Oh, very nice.
I was giving good night wishes to my family and my boys, and I didn't want to bother her, or otherwise I would have just, jumped in there and palled around with them.
Yeah, we got to get a Callie Lewis interview before the end of the week. Can you make that one of the things that you have to do?
I will effort that, Jim. I will effort that.
Thank you very much. That's always good. Well, of course, you know we got pictures with her the last time you and I were there together, and she does a fabulous job.
She does. She's very, very popular with the geek guys and the geek girls, and a very nice lady. So once again, I'm in line. Jim, I have to tell you, I gave the photo gallery website link to my family. So today, this week's CES will be PG rated.
That's good. It won't carry an explicit rating.
That's correct. Hang on, I got to get my ticket out.
All right.
Oh, okay.
I love the smiles on the faces of the guys behind you, Dave.
Yeah, everybody's chuckling it up at the low budgetness. But again,
but who's getting it done, man? I mean, who's getting it done?
Other teams bring 3 cameras, right? Everybody brings 3 cameras. Well, we have 3 cameras finally this year. Windows 8, Android, and the iPhone 4S.
They're not laughing at you, are they?
Oh, no, Gregory's not laughing at me. His friend told the joke.
All right. What's the mic? What's the microphone that you're using again? It's an i. Is it an iMic? An i something?
It's an iRig. Let me show you.
iRig.
This is from IK Multimedia. They typically set up in the I section over in the central. No, not central. The North Hall, where all the iPhone stuff is. So we'll probably go visit those guys and see if we can get some swag off of them.
Guys, you guys have any questions for Dave while he's walking around? Rich?
Yeah, I wanted to ask him, is he carrying around a brick to get extra power from? What's he carrying?
I have 2 extra power bricks, actually 3. I have a case that goes around the iPhone, and then I have 2 external batteries. One's in my pocket right now. I'm going to try to rig it up to the monopole that I'm holding right now and get some juice going because I am at 57%. Let me show you. Yikes. So my first battery will be right here. We'll burn through this tonight, and then we'll get out another one.
Wow, those are so important these days when you're mobile and moving around.
Yep.
That's right, Rich. You got to have extra juice. So thanks everybody for coming out there and helping Jim. Appreciate that. We're about to
Jim
get
and Dave.
Hang on one sec, guys.
Jim, I was just seeing the same kind of questions being asked on the chat on homeservershow.com/live. What's he got? What's his hardware he's carrying? What phone? What network? And so forth.
Yep. You know, we went round and round about, because last year he carried an Android phone, and he would just jump in I just kept a Google Hangout. Of course, over the air or on air Hangouts weren't even out yet last year at this time, and
that's right.
So we did everything to live stream and
We're gonna have to get situated, so hang on.
That's fine. Just we'll keep talking and then jump in when you're ready. So we broadcasted everything to live stream, but we used Google Hangout as the medium to get everybody together. And so it worked really well that Dave would just jump in when he was ready. He would just appear. You know, I always had an open Hangout, and he would just appear, and then we would start and stop the live stream. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. So live streamers, hang tight with me for 1 sec. If you're watching this live, your picture is going to go away for just a second, and then it's going to come right back. It'll just allow me to kind of save this video. So hang tight for 1 second. We'll be back here in less than 30 seconds live from CES. 1 second.